after that brilliant introduction from Peter. So for me, yeah, I had my degree. I currently work as a senior insight analyst at the Red Eye, where I help major brands to help understand their data and understand customer behavior. But before that, I don't have a tech background. I started off as a relationship officer, working with a bank. But then I discovered while at that job, I was always the go-to person for people to ask how they need to get to their KPIs and what they need to do to get on appraisals and get promoted. So I always told people you need to avoid this and do that to be able to get promoted. So I saw that analytical and curiosity in me, and I decided to take it a step further. I started first by learning Python. I got to the first module. You know, when you start Python, you start seeing lists, tuples, and the rest of them, and it's all easy till you get to functions, and then you just break down from there. So I started that, and I lost it at some point. I had to leave and come back to it. Then got teaching myself Python. After that, then I got to UK and got first job at TalkTalk. From TalkTalk, now I currently work at Red Eye. So yeah, that's just a brief introduction about myself and my analytical journey and what I've done so far. Thank you. Yeah, I forgot to add something. I also have benefited from Coding Black Female. I did run a program with you sometime in 2023. So I did the AWS Restart and I was able to get my certification in cloud AWS Solutions Architect and kind of building my skill now to become a data architect. But that's just about me for now. Thank you.
Awesome. What I love about your career history to date, because you're still in it, you're still growing, you're still evolving, and I love that, is that you mastered the art of the pivot, right? And you didn't wait. Self-studying is highly rated, and I tell people this all the time. If you have a vision, if you know something is not right for you, and you have an idea of where you want to be, master the art of the pivot. Don't think, wow, this is really separate. Don't think about pivot. There's so much you can do, and you did exactly that. You married self-teaching, so of Python, with combined using your network, using Coding Black Females, using their resources, using the community, and you did it. You pivoted without having to take step backwards to move forward, because sometimes, especially as women, that's what we think we need to do, right? In order to be given an opportunity, we have to cut and sacrifice parts of ourselves, and we don't. We can have it all. Who says we can't, right? The mind. So if you can get into that, if that's already, we're only 10 minutes in, there's already been such good takeaways. The pivot, make that your friend. Okay, so let's jump into it. So analytics versus engineering. You're all here because it's a question that you've asked yourselves, right? You're curious about what's right for me and how to understand what each kind of world looks like. And so that's what's exactly what we're going to do. So I'd first like to, both of you, both Antoinette and Binta will be answering the same questions. And we will be able to kind of get underneath the hood of the car and really kind of pull it apart. So first question. Binta, can you describe what your role entails? What does a typical day look like for you?
Okay, yeah, I sure can. So a typical day for me involves building and developing solutions. So within the current role that I'm working in right now, I'm working in an area that is based on automations. So we're actually creating bots that help to automate manual processes for different organizations. So that could be streamlining processes such as, let's say, if you have an investment-based approval system, for example, and you have multiple individuals that have to take part and maybe sign off or check off on certain parts of that process, is developing a solution that can actually allow each individual without any manual intervention to continuously carry on with that role, so that it means that you can actually free up organizations. So within the organization that I work in, there are so many different customers that I work with that need those solutions, so that it can free them up for less mundane tasks, so they can focus on higher level workflows, you know. So within my role, I believe it's for somebody that really wants to solve problems. So for me, I was always looking for that challenge. I think it's my background as a scientist. It's always looking to solve a challenge. And what I would then do with that is, you know, just being able to write and maintain and build clean code that allows for these solutions to work. So really it's about being able to design something that's scalable and looking at the architecture, using APIs. I'm sure many of you have a bit of a technical insight and you know how APIs work, but we're using those and working with different databases as well, just to make sure that there's a continual improvement in the pipelines and continuous delivery in what we're working on. Another thing that I tend to work on is just looking at version control. The role that I'm currently in at the moment, like I said, is based on automation. So I'm not necessarily using GitHub as I was using when we first began in the CBF Academy, but I'm actually using a platform called Power Platform. I'm not sure if many of you have heard of it, but it's a Microsoft suite. And what that allows you to do is using low code, no code, is you can actually design these solutions. So coming into this role, I didn't realize that I would be finding myself in this area because I'd actually focused on upskilling and learning Java, learning all about APIs. You know, in the bootcamp, we were able to create our own APIs. And, you know, it was very, very technical. And the role that I have now is still very technical, but it's just different to what I'd envisioned going into it. So, you know, with automating those workflows, it's essential, but then part of my role also involves communicating with stakeholders. So I have meetings with stakeholders just to find out their requirements of what they'd like built and how they'd like things tweaked, and, you know, working in different phases and stages, and sometimes even implementing an agile way of working. It's actually very, very varied, like my day-to-day role. Another thing that I would just add is that I'm also blessed to be part of an organization that is heavily investing in me. So as well as my day-to-day, you know, I'm growing and developing and learning in that area, but I'm also, you know, being given the opportunity. You know, they've pushed me in to do an AI for business value course. So that's also now developing a business analyst kind of insight and looking at how you can add value to the business in that way. So really it's something that I would say anybody that is looking for to solve a problem, you've got those skills, you've got the interest, you know, just jump in, learn, plug in, and you can certainly do it, and you can achieve anything that you put your mind to.
Awesome. You know, when I started in the tech game as a tech recruiter, and when I first heard about engineering, I thought it was just about design, just taking a brief and just designing something. But it's so much more than that. And actually, the mindset behind that powers it, and the thing that I hear time and time again, and from my recruitment side to my coaching side to my knowledge of now of the engineering world, is that problem solving is the crux of it. Problem solving is the crux of it. Curiosity is the crux of it. It wanting to know what you can do. I love what you said about time saving, making things automated, quicker, better, more aligned to the goal. That's almost the nucleus of engineering, and I absolutely love that. Antoinette, can you describe what your role entails and what your day-to-day looks like?
Okay, so my day-to-day looks like firstly monitoring all the dashboards that we have available, checking that they're running as they're supposed to run. Basically, my role sits between analytics and machine learning. So I'm constantly speaking with different stakeholders to understand their needs, understand what they want to see with the data. Most times I've discovered in this role that what stakeholder wants and what they actually need are two different things. So the ability to decipher what they want and what they need and give them that is one of the reasons why I've been in this role. And so let me give you a typical example. A stakeholder can just come to you and say, pull the data for me and give me the average order value because we want to run a campaign to be able to give certain customers some incentive. Now you're asking me to pull up the average order value for you when you know that the average order value is highly skewed. By that, I mean averages are not the best way to judge, because you might come in and buy a thing for just £1,000, another person buys something for £20. If we take an average of that, you see that won't tell the true value. So it's my duty as an analyst to let you know that benching that as a yardstick for you to give promotion means you will be missing out on a lot of people. So that is one of the typical days work. The second one is kind of building models for my organization. So these models stem from either looking at first-time customers to be able to predict when customers will actually buy in, also looking at customers to see when customers will churn so that we avoid that, we mitigate it. So in that way, we're being proactive rather than reactive in analytics. And the third one is actually presenting this analytics to the stakeholders and presenting it in languages that they understand. Because if you are done, the whole analysis you do is subject to what the stakeholder understands. You could do all the work in Python, in Arrow, in whichever tool you use, but if the stakeholder doesn't understand that and is not driving business impact, then you've actually done nothing. So your ability to transfer whatever you've done into great reporting is what matters. And these are like the three things that I do presently for my organization. Thank you.
I love that. I absolutely love that. So it sounds like to me the analytical world is like you said, it's proactive, right? Because data is really shiny, really sexy, really powerful. We all love it, right? But it's about how you use it. So there's two sides of it that I really appreciate. It's the being able to advise on how and what should be used, what's valuable, what's a true representation of what they're trying to find, advising on that, and also being able to tell the story after the fact as well. So an analyst really needs to be able to look at what's coming inbound, be analytical, no pun intended, about what needs to be used and why, and then be able to build a compelling story to share with stakeholders, to be able to tell them what this data means. So we're going from numbers and rows into this really compelling story that inspires action, inspires insights, and really breaks down the issue. I love that. That's really good. Brilliant. What Binta, what sort of problems are you solving at the moment? You mentioned it a little bit about kind of automation. Can you tell us more about, how your work impacts the business?
Yep, certainly. So the kind of problems that I've been solving for the past, I think since I joined the organization, I've been working on pretty much the same project. And it's gone through multiple different phases and processes in that it's continuously adapting. And that is an investment approvals process, which I kind of touched on briefly. And what that does is the senior members of a particular organization are just looking for ways in which to streamline and make this so much more efficient, because initially they would have processes where they would use a lot of emails, they would correspond and make sure that, okay, the next person in line is there to actually respond to an investment request in a timely manner. But what they found is that there were so many gaps in this, in the sense that a lot of people were not necessarily checking their emails on time. And that could lead to a knock-on effect to any projects that are pending due to the level of importance of a potential project. So what they really wanted us to capture was just to be able to have a system in place that allows them to automatically and automate this process and just be able to check off within, a 5-day period. So the way that we've built the code is that, within a 5-day period, you have a maximum amount of time to respond to this request. If not, then the request will be returned to the requester and the process will be started again. So things like this have kind of like discouraged the stakeholders from actually taking, because they say, oh, we're so busy, we're doing this, we're doing that, but really it has a knock-on effect on what's going on. So it's discouraged them from actually taking their time with these, because there's a lot of additional pressures, because you can actually see it's very a transparent system that allows you to see where this proposal is sitting at. And it allows for the stakeholders to actually engage and question exactly what is going on and why. So what I've found, though, the problems that it solves is just that it allows business continuity. And one thing that I find myself doing a lot is, obviously, yes, we're doing the building, but testing. I feel like I've spent so much time testing, like that's what I literally do. Because you have to make sure that what you're building is actually fit for purpose, before it goes live. So being able to actually ensure that there's a smooth delivery of that is very, very vital. So yeah, really what I'm doing at the moment with that process, like I said, it's been ongoing for a year. Now what we're doing is looking at the future requirements for development. So we've put 2 phases into live now, and now we're looking at building a business case for the 3rd phase. So I have to now look at what elements, based on feedback I'm getting from stakeholders on how the process is actually working, what needs to be adapted, and try to figure out a solution as to how long that might take me to build, what efforts and resources that I might need. So again, these are things that I never really envisioned myself doing as a software engineer, because, you just feel like you're just in your own little bubble and you're just carrying on a role. But what that has taught me is that you have to be very, very flexible and adaptable, because you're going to find yourself in situations that you're like, oh, okay, I never realized that I would necessarily have to utilize this skill. But, you just have to continuously learn and build on that skill. And as you do that, you'll evolve and you'll be able to solve even more problems for whichever organization or business you find yourself representing.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. The engineering world it mirrors the tech world itself. It's very, very fast, but it's not just fast from the building product side and the automation side. It's fast for the individual as well. Like you said perfectly, you need to be flexible, you need to be adaptable, and also you need to be able to keep the pace, literally. What I love what you mentioned about helping individual stakeholders keep that momentum going, right? Because you need, and that is requires kind of learning how to do that. I don't know if you've ever watched athletics, and there is a pace keeper, so not part of the race, but they actually just keep the pace. It's a little, that's what that reminded me of when you were speaking about it.
Yeah.
So part of an engineer's role is to keep the pace, and because a lot of people tend to get really excited about this. They're building this product, but you're only as good, really, as the counterparts around you, the moving parts around you. So that's a big part of the role. So if you're adept at being able to do that, if you like variation, if you like diversity, and if you're not afraid to speak up and say, hey, buddy, listen, stop or start, it could be, this could be for you. I absolutely love that. And testing as well. Testing, if you're not afraid to kind of go back and refine your own work, if you're not afraid to kind of make mistakes as well, if you're not afraid to be creative, if you're not afraid to explore, you could be a great future engineer. Love that. Absolutely. Antoinette, please, can you answer the same question? What sort of problems are you solving, and how are you impacting the business?
Okay, so for me, my own case is slightly different because impacting different businesses across different sectors. So it's always a case of pulling the cap of, say, retail and putting on the one for travel, because the domain knowledge for analytics, basically, you need to have some levels of domain knowledge, because if you don't, that will be a problem. You need to understand why certain things happen and why, and when certain things happen and why. And some of these things will not be in the data that you're presented. Do you get? So, for example, now you want to build something for a travel industry. Let's say you want to check out why travel industries are churning, or by churn, I mean why travel industry customers are not coming back to purchase from you. Now, if you use the same analytics or the same method you're using to analyze why people that buy from Asda didn't come back in 2 months, you would fail. Because I know if I ask you now, maybe you travel twice a year, but then you shop like bi-weekly in Asda. So that is the kind of problem that I solve every day. You need to be able to understand what it is, what the actual problem is, and how to go about it. And by doing this, I use several tools to kind of achieve this, depending on the organization that I'm working with. Some you would have to build from the scratch. Like in some cases, I've had to build dashboards using Shiny from scratch because the organization needed it to be tailor-made to what they wanted. In other cases, you use existing tools like Power BI, PowerPoint to do your presentation. and communicate these insights to stakeholders in ways that they understand. If I come out to you and I start speaking churn or customer acquisition cost, you may not understand what I'm talking about. But that's why I need to break it down as an analyst to language that you understand. So these are the kind of problems that I solve every day. Another aspect of it is breaking down of reports. Most times that you find analysts say that the dashboards they build or the reports they build are not being used. So you're just building reports that never get touched. And the reason I found why this happened is because we are building reports based on what we are asked to do, not what the organization really needs. You need to find out, if you're asking me to build this report, like I saw someone's question, what I need to understand what the problem is, what it is you're trying to solve. If I don't understand the problem, I won't be able to give you the accurate solution or the proper solution or the proper approach to helping you solve that particular problem. So they might come with asking you to do one thing, while in reality, they need another thing. Now, if you go ahead and waste your time or take your time to design this dashboard in a way that they want, you will find out that after the first visit, no one comes to that dashboard again. Then you've lost time. Your organization is paying money for the time that dashboard keeps running. And if they come to check out what you've done for the month and they see that you've done this particular dashboard, but no one is using it, it looks as if you're not adding value to the organization. So you have to look for ways that you can add value, and that value is measurable. People can see what you're adding. Then the last one I would say when it comes to problem solving is the fact that as an analyst, before, analysts used to be a back office kind of role, but that's not the case anymore. You need to speak up. You need to voice your opinion. When you're in the meeting, you need to say something. You need to add value to that meeting. Stakeholders need to understand that you are there as an analyst. It is no longer business as usual where you just keep quiet and you don't say anything, or the business just does what they want to do. That doesn't work anymore. If you know you want to grow in this role, you have to talk, you have to speak up, you have to tell them what they need to know or what they need in languages that they understand. You're not being rude, but you need to be present in the room when those decisions are being made, because the power of turning your insights into actionable value is what makes you a wonderful analyst. The stakeholders need to know that you created this and this has brought the company this much value. So that's like what I would say to that question. Thank you.
I love that. So the analyst has to be able to be, it's almost a double analytical role. You have to be able to analyze the analytics itself, or analyze the request for analytics itself. So it's a loaded one, and it's almost like it alters your brain chemistry, because you have to discover, there's an element of discovering what it is the request actually is, right? Because like you said, it's not, sometimes the request is made, but non-technical people don't necessarily know the back end. So they may choose this data set or may think it's in this direction, but it's not. And your role is to be able to be their shepherd, to be their guide, and be visible, and be the lead, really. Help them to get what they need to get to. I love what you said about, it's not just about the analytics. It's even if you have this really great piece of analytics, it's not going to be as powerful if you're not able to visualize it and to share that information and to tell that story and to help people understand what you did, right? So the analytical world, an analyst would suit someone who loves to dig deep and get messy in the data, and then process it and visualize it in a really compelling way. So it's like, yes, it's not for the people. You've said times have changed. Analytics used to be in a basement. Now you're in front of stakeholders, you're presenting. So do you love data? Do you love the numbers? But do you also love telling the story? Do you also like leading people and helping them really really get stuck into the insights. If you're here and thinking, yes, I didn't know that sort of opportunity existed, that I could have the best of both worlds, then yes, you can. And that's and analytics could be for you, which is really, really exciting. So Binta, I want to ask you, what technical skills are you using most often? What are you, how do they differ between analytics and engineering?
Okay, so I would say going into engineering, the technical skills that I mainly built up and developed was in Java, utilizing Java to write my code and to develop solutions. But the role that I find myself in presently, I'm using more of automated tools such as Blue Prism, UiPath, and Power Platform, Power Automate. Simply because it just allows me to cater to the needs of the customer that I'm working with at present. But that's not to say that necessarily like every software engineer is going to necessarily have this skill set. So I think what I found is that there's no standard approach. There's no one size fits all when you're looking at this area of engineering. You really just have to be flexible to be able to upskill and pick up skills in these different tools. So for example, when I first started in my role, I didn't even know what these these tools or softwares were or what they did. But you know, with time, with learning and just understanding, you know, as I said before, the requirements of the stakeholder and what they really, really are wanting to achieve, then you know, I have to be versatile to kind of like utilize the tools that are going to give them the results that they want. So I would say that, you know, as an engineer or developer, what I'm doing is I'm building the solutions and I'm, you know, creating those systems that will then, you know, the likes of Antoinette will then get the results that they need from the data, from the solutions, and they'll be able to analyze and interpret that. So the two really go hand in hand. It just depends on, you know, where you find yourself. If you're more of an analytical thinker, somebody that really wants to do a lot of that thought work, then analytics is for you. But if you're somebody that wants to develop and problem solve and build, then definitely I would say look into engineering. But sometimes you just never know. Like, you know, you could be sitting here and listening to us and think, oh, that sounds good. Oh, that sounds interesting. But sometimes until you actually just jump in and try and get started, you never really are going to know what you like or what you're passionate about or where your strengths lie. So for example, in the role that I'm doing, it's fully remote at the moment. So are you somebody that is comfortable, you know, working fully remotely without having your team around you? Are you somebody that would really want that support of being in the office and being around like minds? Because again, you can grow and develop at different rates depending on where you find yourself. Some people are very comfortable in their own space and they can just focus and get on, which I am. But then at the same time, I can be around people because you can glean so much more ideas and develop that way. So it's really just about doing that inner work and just thinking about yourself as an individual, what you think is going to suit you. Get started on that pathway. And you know what? If it's not for you, you can actually shift. As you can see that myself, Antoinette, and many other people within CBF have been able to do successfully, you can always change your mind. There's nothing wrong with that. So yeah, thank you.
I absolutely love that. And you've touched on such a great point. Tools, what I call tools paralysis. Lots of people get so overwhelmed with what is available on the market in terms of where do I start, what do I study, only for you to secure this incredible role and have to learn a lot of new things anyway, right? So don't get stuck on Python or this and go with the thing that aligns, go with the thing that resonates, but be open. Understand that part of this is continuous learning, very literally, very literally. It doesn't stop. There are going to be tools to be used, and tools also could be used differently, interchangeably as well. So don't, if that's something that is playing on your mind now, keeping you stuck, or perhaps it's something that you've started learning lots of different ones and you haven't quite committed to any or mastered or really grasped any, then that this is your sign to lock in, focus, but still know that you're part of learning a tool is not that you're going to stay fixed forever. It's that you need to learn how to learn so that you can keep learning, right? So that's really the crux of it. Okay, good. Thank you, Binta. That was great. Antoinette, please can you answer the same question? What tools, tech skills are you using most often, and how does that differ from analytics and engineering?
Okay, so the tech tools I use often is Excel, SQL for querying the database because of the data I work with, and then Power BI. But one thing I know in this role is that tech tools is dependent on organization. When I first started as an analyst, I had finished learning Python, R, and everything. And the first task that was given to me was to do a VLOOKUP. I didn't know how to do it because I wasn't even expecting anyone to ask me something as simple as a VLOOKUP. And I had to learn from that point. I had to understand that tech stack depends on the organization that you're working with. So you could learn everything that you have to learn, and your organization, you come up to the organization, and then they now use Meta, or they use Alteryx or something. There are so many different tools, but one thing that stands out is that they all use the same algorithm or the same logic behind the scene. So if you can use Power BI, you definitely will be able to use Tableau. It might take 1 or 2 weeks training and tweaking, but you will be able to do it at the end of the day. So don't focus on tools. That would be my advice to anyone that's coming into data analytics. Don't focus on tools, focus on the knowledge, focus on the analytics, focus on the curiosity. Because if you can answer and build on those questions that you need those tools to work on for you, you'll be able to use any tool that's presented to you. You'll be able to relearn or learn and keep learning because it's a continuous learning process. Then on how it differs to engineering tools. So for analytics, we're mainly analyzing data. You may not necessarily have to build a database, but for engineering, I'm talking about data engineering in this case. You have to build data pipelines. You have to maintain data pipelines. My own would just be to pull out the data from SQL, whereas the engineer would have to like check out what he needs to do to make the database, to optimize the database, to make the database fast so that it doesn't crash, different things. I may just, as an analyst, I'll have a read-only access, whereas an engineer will be able to write into the database, be able to add new features into the database. So they are basically building the database, maintaining the database, while my own function is just to pull out, take data out of the database. So they are working with maybe big data, they're working with what's it called, data flow tools and the likes of it, DBT. Yeah, and an analyst can also work with DBT, but it's more of an engineering thing than an analytical thing. Then one last thing I have to say is that if you're confused about engineering or data engineering or data analytics, try out Python. That's one thing I always tell people. Try out Python, try learning Python. Because the Python analysts use and the one engineers use, they are two different Pythons. We might just use pandas and NumPy, and we're done with that to analyze our data. Throughout your analytical career, you may really not have any reason writing OOP or all those object-oriented programming and things like that. You don't have any business doing that. But as an engineer, you would keep doing that all over, or every time you're doing things like that. So if you can grasp Python from start to finish and you don't quit like someone like me, you'll be able to pull through as an engineer. That's one thing I usually tell people if they want to try out engineering or analytics. Thank you.
Love that. Love that. And you know, you touched on something really, really important, because some people, you know, they go for all these sexy, shiny new tools, and there are many in the tech world. But you reminded us sometimes it's about keeping it simple. Your Excel, how we've all been writing Excel on CV, we've all been advanced Excel, but in the analytical world, you do actually use tools like Excel and SQL that's been around for years as well. So sometimes it's not about the shiniest, newest product. Sometimes it is kind of foundational and building from there. Don't be afraid to do that as well. And don't be tool shy either. What you said about relearning and unlearning was really, really powerful. I love it. Thank you very much. Do you need a break? Do you need a degree, Binta? Do you need a degree to break into your field, or are there alternative routes?
Wow, good question. To be honest, I thought going into this that definitely, oh, you have to know computer science, you have to have had a degree, because that's what you hear everybody talking about. They're like, oh, okay, you have to have a degree in this. You can't just enter through a non-traditional route. But guys, I broke through a non-traditional route. So as I touched on earlier, I actually took part in the CBF Entry to Tech boot camp. And that was literally all that I needed. And it was actually the best decision that I made, because it really did give me those foundations that I needed to look at for back-end development, because my actual goal coming into this was to be able to do software development, create apps. I'm somebody that used to play a lot with money apps, okay? So, but I didn't know how they worked. And the curiosity got the better of me to just really wondering, okay, how am I going to figure out this? I tried my own learning, but it was really, really difficult because I didn't have a technical background. So really, I only knew how to utilize apps on my phone, but I didn't know what was going on behind them to actually make them work. So asking those questions and, going on to like Code Academy and Udemy and going on YouTube and watching endless videos. Yes, that was a good starting point, but it really didn't help me because I felt like I knew nothing and I had to really get up to a certain level of foundational knowledge to be able to progress. And that's where the CBF Bootcamp was just fantastic for me, because it really covered everything and more that I needed to know. It prepared me because we were able to develop our own APIs. So, you might be learning and learning and learning, but you need to actually be able to find a space where you can apply that learning and do mini projects and build yourself up in that way. So utilizing Java and Spring Boot, I actually made an API that was to do with one of my passions, which was volunteering in the food bank. So I was able to create a recipe finder, which I know it sounds very, very simplistic, but it was actually fantastic because it has a very, very it meets a need for a lot of people. So when I saw that, okay, I can utilize these skills and I can progress in what I'm doing and I can just continue to build up from there, I realized that actually you don't actually need any knowledge. So if you're on this call right now and you don't have technical skills like I didn't have, then just go for it. You definitely can do it. There's support out there, there's mentorship, there's bootcamp. CBF is here. It's a phenomenal and very, very supportive organization that I believe can help you, because there are mentors that are placed in different industries within tech. As you've probably explored and seen, tech is so vast, there's so much to it. I'm still exploring and learning every day, but it's just about just trying to find your feet and find what is driving you, what are you passionate about, and what do you want to see change in, what do you want to contribute to make change in. So yeah, really that was how my career progression worked so far, and we're continuing to progress, and I'm looking forward to the next stages of my journey.
I love that, Binta. You're evidence that passion and purpose triumphs, traditional methods. And what's traditional? How can you say that, we're creative, anything can happen, there's AI, it's so exciting, but then you're fixed to, old ways of working? It really is, there really is an opportunity to be creative in your journey as well. But when you're powered by passion, it really, really shows. And a word about CBF courses, I'm probably biased, but they are very well made and very well designed to help you get the skills that you will be using day to day, or the foundational skills that you'll be using day to day, or at least so you can understand the language, so you can understand what it's like. It's designed that way. It's not fluffy, whimsical. The intensity of the courses, the loadedness of the courses come from, you will be using this, you will be needing it. And also, once you have these skills and put them on your CV, people will listen. Okay, yeah, that's really well aligned. That's really well aligned. They're designed to open doors for you. So yeah, that's great. Antoinette, do you, same question? Do you in the analytical world, how do you feel? Do you need a degree to break into your world? Are there alternative routes?
Yes, so I'd say a mixture of both. Previously, it used to be like very degree focused, but it's no longer. like that at the moment, but you still see some organizations ask that you have some bit of STEM degree. But what I would say is that it all depends on you and the portfolio that you can push forward to this organization. So if you're looking to break into this role, what I tell people is not going to Kaggle. Yeah, that's good. Going to Kaggle, pick up data set and try to run different things that you want to run and put it in your portfolio. Most times those build along or follow along data boot camps don't really help you that much. Now you have to challenge yourself. You have to look inwards, like look at a problem that you can solve. It could be your personal finance. It could be helping people build something that could help people solve their personal finance problem. It could be one thing I did one time, and I did with a couple of people, is to look at the data, the crime data for everywhere within the West Midlands, and try to like analyze which is the best place that I could go and rent a place. So looking at that, building a model based on that, I was able to say, okay, this place is the safest place where I could go rent a house, and I was able to rent a house. So something that people that are reusable, people align to, people are able to use. Another time I decided, okay, let me build a dashboard to like assign tasks to different family members because of the Christmas party that was coming on. And I did build that, sent everybody their link, and they kept on logging their tasks. If anyone finishes, they tick it and they move on. Those are the kind of things that you remember, because you may not have experience, you may not have worked anywhere, but if you've done things like that, if you face this kind of problems, you can be able to use that to tell stories in interview, because those stories are what will get you the job. So if you're able to build those things and you did them step by step by yourself, not follow along, you are able to solve the problem, surmount everything that came up when you were building those things, you'll be able to tell that story and tell the story well, that is believable. It's not about what ChatGPT generated for you. You need to solve this problem. You need to build a portfolio showing that you actually solved this problem. And this is the way recruiters can bring you in, regardless of if you have experience or you don't have experience. That's one way that you could help to break that barrier. So that's for me, you don't really need a STEM background, but you need to get your hands dirty if you don't have one. STEM background is an open door, because some organizations will say STEM degree needed. But if you're able to attach your portfolio there, and they go onto your portfolio and they see the great things you have done, I tell you most certainly, they would not look out for your STEM background. They would omit that for you. So that's one way that I think that they can go about it. Thank you.
Excellent. I love that. Getting your hands dirty in the data, because it's that's what they can't teach, right? That mindset, the problem solving, the ability to see, to bridge the gap between A and Z. That's something that they can't teach. That's something that even if you have the degree and it's very literally in computer science, or you've used that, that's not necessarily, that's something you can't teach. Some people can do the literal work, but can't do the creative side, can't look at problems and solve them, can't even identify problems. So are you curious enough to be like, this could be better, or this could be new, and I want to be the powerhouse that and the force behind making it happen and pulling it into reality. Evidence, evidence, evidence. If you're saying you're creative, if you're saying you're analytical, prove it, right? A portfolio is going to have more weight than a degree that's on page 2 of the CV, right? Your portfolio, your achievements goes right at the top on your profile. It holds more weight. So I hope everyone can take that away. And if you are in that place where you're kind of degree paralysis, oh, I don't have this, should I pay X amount? Someone asked me the other day, should I pay another amount of money for a master's? I said, for what? For what? You know, jump in. Jump in, jump in, jump in, jump in. This age of where we are, this world is for the active people, for the doers. It's for the doers. So snatch it, grab it, and fly. Absolutely love it. This is my favorite question. Binta, what are the personality traits, and you touched on this part, and or working styles that suit someone in engineering?
Okay, I would definitely say, yeah, I did touch on it briefly, but
Yeah.
it's definitely for somebody who's looking to solve a problem, somebody that likes to build things, somebody that is thinking, okay, you might be somebody that likes to build puzzles or something, and you just want to figure out how do pieces slot together, and you want to be able to develop a solution that solves a problem for somebody, then, or for an organization. I think that's definitely the trait that you need to have, the kind of style that you need to have. But again, I do say, like, a lot of people within engineering, as what I've noticed is that they work fully remotely. Sometimes it can be an isolated place. So are you somebody that is comfortable with that kind of situation and scenario? You definitely have to be somebody that has a lot of patience. You have to have a lot of patience because you're going to find yourself continuously, like I said, doing a lot of testing, a lot of building. You might even build something and you know it's just not working. And in your eyes, you've done everything to the T. You've got your code is in place, it should be working, but it's just about trying to spot, okay, and debug and figure out, okay, what exactly is it that is not causing this to work? You know, I have had situations where it's taken me sometimes several days, sometimes longer, to figure out maybe that I've just got a number or a figure in the wrong place, which is what's stopping my code from working. It happens to the best of us, but I mean, you have to have that patience and that resilience to continue and not give up, because it's something that is going to be part of your journey, is going to be being able to identify those things and being able to continuously improve and to evolve and to develop features and different softwares. So definitely I would say somebody that just likes to figure things out is really going to be somebody that's going to be well suited to an engineering background.
I love that. Patience and resilience. The art of knowing when to change, the art of knowing when to continue, the art of knowing what and how to change, the art of not knowing itself, the art of, okay, you know what? I don't know, but I need to find this out. Do you have that drive? Do you have that pull? Were you the kid taking the computer apart? You know, that if so, this world could be really aligned to you. I love that.
And you have to be okay, sorry, to dream about your code, because you're going to find sometimes you cannot switch off and you're just going to be seeing like code in your dreams and your sleep, everything that you're doing. So you have to be okay with that. Okay. Yeah.
Live and breathe it, live and breathe
Yeah.
it. Absolutely. Antoinette, what personality traits would suit someone is needed in the world of analytics? What personality traits and working styles as well?
Yes, so the first thing I'll say is to be an analyst, you have to be able to always ask why. So the sales value increased. Why? People are not buying from us anymore. Why? You should be able to ask why at every point in time. That's one of the traits you need to be an analyst. That means you need to be really curious. The second thing is that you need to be able to see the kind of the bigger picture. So you'll be faced with different levels of messy data. So you need to be able to walk through you that does how do I put it? You'll be faced with different levels of messy data. So you need to have that patience to walk through it because you know what your end goal is. So you need to be patient. You need to understand that you need to go through the dirty stuff before you get the clean stuff. And the last one is collaboration. You can never do this alone. You must collaborate with others in the team. So one thing that I've learned that worked for me so far is I don't I don't work in isolation. How do I put it? I work with the stakeholders. We do this hand in hand because I don't want to go back having to do your report a second time. So while I'm working, I'm iterating, or I give you a link or something so you're able to see what it is I'm working on. And that way we're doing the correction together. That way we're being more productive to the organization. So I don't want to finish what I think is in my head and send it over to you and you send it back to me because it's not what it is in your head. So if I'm able to share the link with you of any report or anything, and we're building together at every point in time, is this okay? Do you need me to add this or something like that? And we have that interaction, that talk. So you need to be able to be patient with the stakeholders, always communicate and interact with the stakeholders. Make sure that you have these short meetings every morning. We do that a lot in my team. We have short meetings with the people that we have work or things to do with. That way, you're able to be aligned in the same place and in the same area, so you know that you're doing what you're supposed to do and not doing something that would not that is in effect will not be useful at the end of the day. And lastly, patience is just that's patience is what I would say. Patience is everything on patience is everything on this road. Patience is in the way you code, in everything. Because analysts, there are different levels of analysts. that's one other thing I want to say out to people that are looking into this role. There are analysts who just use Excel, and that's okay. There are analysts who code, and lastly, there are analysts who build models. Those are the different levels of analytics. So you need to understand which area you follow, which organization, what they're advertising, and know if that suits your strengths, because they can put SQL and everything, and you get to the role and you just deal with Excel morning till evening. You can also get to the role and you'll be dealing with Power BI reporting and SQL and the rest of them. So you need to be able to differentiate this and know what kind of role you're getting into from the start, and that would help you to do better at the role. Thank you.
I love that. I love that collaboration. That seems to be one that stuck out, not just with other analysts, but with other collaboration. So stakeholders, maybe marketing, maybe sales. There's going to be working a lot with other people. And the tiers of analytics, I really appreciated that. There are different, even within the analytical world, there's different, which leads me to the final question before we share final thoughts, and pieces of advice. So, Binta, if someone is unsure which path they should take, how can they explore it further? What would you recommend?
Okay. Well, I can imagine majority of people here are looking for a way into tech, or they're looking for a way to, transition or pivot within tech. For me, I would definitely say for you to just be open, be really, really open-minded, and just have conversations with people. What I found very, very useful on my journey was I did a lot of I attended a lot of events like these. I went to networking events. I spoke to people that were doing roles that I was very, very interested in, just to get a bit of an insight and a background into actually what does that role entail? Is it something that I can see myself doing? Is it something that I'd like to explore further? You've got everything at your hand, so you can just search and look up exactly what it is that you see yourself doing. ChatGPT is there as well. You can actually put in the kind of skills that you have or what you think you would like to do, and it can offer you suggestions if you don't exactly know what roles there are within tech, because like I said, it's very, very vast. So being able to just network and speak to different people, that's definitely something that I would encourage you to do. If you're not on LinkedIn, definitely get on LinkedIn, because there's a lot of thought leaders on LinkedIn that share a lot about their roles, what they're passionate about, and you can find what resonates with you. You can find those that resonate with you, or sharing a message similar to something that you may be interested in and explore further. Have conversations, reach out to people on LinkedIn, and a lot of people are very, very useful and helpful to respond. But also find opportunities to shadow. Find out if there are shadowing opportunities where you're currently placed, or if you can volunteer somewhere and just get an insight into different roles or different areas of a particular business or particular stream of tech, and see exactly what matches with your personality type. I would definitely say, there's so many opportunities out there, so just get to exploring.
Amazing. I love that. I love that. There's so many different vectors, so many different sectors. Definitely one thing that I love to do, and I still do it to this day, it's a habit, it's an old habit from my tech recruitment days. I like to follow certain people and their careers to see how they go from one thing to another, and what skills they showcase and what they learn. And I would definitely recommend following people, not just to ask, sometimes just to look at how they've pivoted from one to the other, especially if they're active on LinkedIn. You can learn a lot because they share their insights. That's what the platform is there for. So thank you for that, Binta. That was really, really insightful. Antoinette, if someone is unsure which path to take, what would you recommend? How should people explore?
Yeah, the first thing I'll say is do not pay for any boot camp if you're unsure of what you want to get into. Go over to YouTube. Don't even pay for any Udemy course. If I had a penny for every Udemy course I have, like, you could meet me for some Udemy course. I have them a lot. So what we're basically trying to say is that don't pay for any Udemy course. Do not pay for any boot camp. start off by going to free courses like CBF. You can also see some on YouTube. Try out those courses. Do you like them? Do you like what you're learning from them? Can you apply those skills into real world problems for you to solve? Then the next thing is, like Binta said, get onto LinkedIn, reach out to people, get onto what's it called, BCS. You could reach out to people. There are so many platforms like that. There's CBF mentoring. Reach out to people on those platforms. Find out if they can tell you one or two things that will help your career, and that will help you a lot to like structure yourself and know if this is a good fit for you or if you're wasting your time, because you. And after that, then you can decide if you want to go over for a paid course, because sometimes those free courses might not give you real in-depth, except for the ones that are offered by CBF, of course, because I've also benefited from that. But some of them might not give you in-depth knowledge into what you're looking for. Then you can now decide if you want to go over, if you want to do something more. But for a start, don't pay for any course. Don't spend your money on boot camp and halfway through you realize that you don't want to be an engineer, you want to be an analyst, when you've already spent some 4,000, and some of them will even come with all these specs of will get you a job. No, nobody is getting you any job. That's the truth. Most of those paid ones, they won't get you any job. Once you're done, they'll tell you there's so many people in the queue and so many stories, and at the end of the day, you end up, your money is gone. You didn't learn anything. You probably have so much job and you were not even able to complete the class, or you've paid your 4K and it's gone. So just take your time into anything that you're doing. Learn from YouTube, learn from free courses. If it's something you're now interested in, you can go on to develop that further. That's just the basic advice that I'm going to say. Then the last one I'm going to say is that make sure you don't throw away your domain knowledge. Most people, when we're getting into tech or we're switching from tech, we just shove down under the carpet everything that we've known before, the previous work we've done or something. I worked in a bank, and I've used that a lot to tailor business strategies, because nobody will teach you what AML is, anti-money laundering. No basic book will teach you that except experience. So that's something you don't want to throw. If you've worked in a hotel, if you worked in a bank, if you worked in a school, you could actually bring that could give you that job, because you have the domain knowledge, and it's one of the most important things when it comes to analytics, that domain knowledge, because that's what the data is not telling you, and you want to have that information for you to analyze the data. So don't try to throw it away or try to think that it's not useless. It is not important. It's very, very important, and it will help you in your career growth. Thank you.
Amazing. I love that. So much value in that, and what a wonderful way to close this incredible session. Don't sleep on your transferable skills in a literal way, but also in your mindset and in the belief that you have in yourself. You are worthy, right? Your journey, your story, your history is worth something. You're not don't think that, oh my gosh, I was in customer service, I'm a nobody. You are somebody, and the experience that you had in that role is going to be something that puts you in good stead. There's so much value in everything and in your story to date, right? So start where you are now. Don't forget your past, but build for a future. That's what we're doing whilst remaining present, right? And I love what you said about the investments. Yes, there are plenty of companies that will promise X, Y, Z, and then in the fine print, they're like, not really. And you've invested a lot and anything can happen. So before, utilize the resources that are available for you for free, because what I hate to see happen, and it does happen more often than you know, because I'm privy to this. So what people do is they spend a lot of money on courses, and they get burned, and it takes them years to then come back to the same spot where they're ready to go again. Because when you lose money and you lose confidence, it takes a while to rebuild. Some people never get back there, right? So use that energy, that excited energy that you have to discover what's available to you. You've got the world at your oyster. You've got ChatGPT. You've got so much available to you. Coding Black Females, great. Before that, and more often than not, that's enough. enough, especially in today's age, right? That's enough for you to be able to transition to where you want to be. So I hope we are 6 minutes over, and I'm conscious of all of your time. So let's wrap this up. I really hope that you've got a really great idea of the analytical world versus the engineering world now. I hope I hope things have resonated and inspired you to explore. This session was for you to kind of discover both elements, but what has transpired from this is that there are so much, even between both worlds, there is so much. So explore, explore, explore. This really have, Serafina, this has been a good day of learning. Thank you so much to Antoinette. Thank you so much for Binta, for keeping it real with us, keeping it really on point, giving us insights into your world and who you are, and really, really empowering people with the seed needed to kind of keep growing. I hope you all feel very inspired. I do apologize, no time for questions. However, we are scraping these questions, and we will get you answers, and we will share that with you as well. I'm glad that you all found it really useful. Please, yeah, connect on LinkedIn. These could be your first connections in the tech world, ladies. So get on there, Binta's first and second names here: Antoinette Adanian, Binta Hannah Kuka. Ooh, love that surname. Yeah,
It just rolled off your tongue.
it's something, honey. It's one you won't forget it. You won't forget it. It's a brand name. Yes, I love it. So yeah, please do click on the LinkedIn here. It's in the chat. Connect, and there you go. If you join this call thinking, I don't know where to start, I don't know anyone in the industry, you know 3 people now. You know me, you know Antoinette, you know Binta, right? So your network has already multiplied. So thank you so much for being here. I absolutely love this. Please share. Anyone needs to drop off, you're more than welcome to do so. I'm going to keep this open for about a minute or so that everyone could network and share in the chat, and then we will be off. And I look forward to seeing you. This is just day 1 of Careers with Accounting, and we've learned so much. We've still got so many other powerful sessions to go. A lot have sold out, so if there's something you've got your eye on is still available, grab it, secure your space, secure your seat, whilst it's still available, because yes, this is the place to be. This is the place to be this week, and it's really exciting. So great. Just connected, says Marie. That's awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you, ladies. That's great. I'm going to keep it open till 6:40, and then we'll close. But thank you so much, Antoinette, and thank you, Binta, for your energy, your passion, your insights were invaluable. And it was a really, really kind of dynamic session. Thank you.
Thank you too, Una. You did a phenomenal job of steering the conversation.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That was fantastic.
Thank you. I felt the energy. I felt it. I loved it. I loved it. Thank you, Yvonne. Thank you for being here. Thank you, Natalie. Thanks for being here. See you all soon. See you soon. One more minute. Thank you, Olu. Thanks, Gina. Oh, hi, Kike. Yes. You're very welcome. I look forward to speaking with you soon. Thanks, Ayana. See you soon. Thanks, Kaz. Hi, Vivian. See you soon. You're very welcome. Okay, see you next time. Bye, ladies. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
You're very welcome. See you soon. See you soon. Awesome. Happy Monday. This was a great day. Love it. And the sun's still shining. Yes. See you soon. See you tomorrow for those who will be joining in tomorrow's session. See you later on in the week, and have a great one. Enjoy. Bye.